A company spent $1.2 million on an AI platform. 9 months later, adoption was at 8%. The CTO said the tool works perfectly. The vice president of operations said nobody trusts it. And the frontline employees, well, they built a workaround in Excel, a spreadsheet. That's not a technology problem. That's a culture problem wearing a technology disguise. Today, change culture or change tools first. Let's untangle this. Welcome to Binary Business. I'm Will Guidry. Every episode, we take a real business decision, strip out the noise, and run it through a binary filter. Because the best operators know that the hardest problems aren't technical, they're human. Let's get into it. This is one of those debates that's been going on since the first company tried to implement any new technology, ever. And the debate always sounds the same. One side says, we need to change the culture first, get buy-in, build trust, shift mindsets, then bring in the tools. The other side says, just give them better tools. The culture will follow those once people see the results. Both sides have evidence. Both sides have horror stories. And both sides think the other side is the reason projects fail. Here's what I've seen after working with companies across manufacturing, finance, and technology. The answer depends on what's actually broken. And most leaders don't diagnose correctly because they're biased toward whichever one they're more comfortable with. CTOs love tools. They can demo tools. They can measure tools. Tools have ROI calculators and vendor presentations and roadmaps. HR leaders and change management consultants love culture. Culture has workshops and surveys and transformation frameworks and a lot of Post-it notes. Neither is wrong, but one comes first, and getting the sequence wrong is expensive. Not oops kind of expensive. We just set $1 million on fire and blame the vendor expensive. So let's sort it out. Here's the binary. 2 schools, 1 sequence. Here's how each one plays. Binary 1, change culture first. Binary 1 says culture eats strategy for breakfast, and it especially eats technology for lunch. The argument is straightforward. If your people don't trust AI, don't understand why it's being introduced, and feel threatened by it, no tool on earth will save you. You'll buy the platform, deploy the platform, and watch the platform collect digital dust while everyone quietly goes back to the way things were. I saw this firsthand at a manufacturing plant. They rolled out an AI-powered predictive maintenance system, technically brilliant, could predict equipment failures 72 hours in advance, game-changing capability. The maintenance crew ignored it completely. Why? Because nobody told them the tool was coming. Nobody asked what problems they actually had. And the first time the system flagged a false positive, which was predicting a failure that didn't actually happen, the crew chief said, "See, I told you, computers don't know machines." And that was it. Done. The whole team wrote it off. Not because the tool was bad, because the introduction to the tool was bad. The culture wasn't ready. A few months later, the company brought in a change management consultant. A few months of workshops, ride-alongs, and the maintenance team's small pilot program. Then they introduced the same tool, same platform, same algorithm, and adoption hit 78%. Same tool, different culture, completely different result. So culture first works when there's active distrust of AI technology or technology in general, when previous tech rollouts have failed and people are cynical, or when the workforce feels threatened by automation and the leadership hasn't communicated the why behind the change. Binary 0, change tools first. Binary 0 says stop talking and start showing. People don't change because of workshops. They change because they see something better. And honestly, there's strong evidence for this. One professional services firm spent 8 months on AI readiness. Surveys, town halls, training sessions, change champions, COEs, the whole 9 yards. By the time they were culturally ready to deploy AI, 3 competitors had already shipped AI-powered client deliverables. All those months of preparation, 0 AI in production. Competitor advantage, gone. Meanwhile, another firm in the same industry just deployed a tool. No fanfare, no transformation workshop. They picked one team, gave them an AI writing assistant and said, try it for 2 weeks. If you hate it, we'll pull it. 2 weeks later, the team asked for more licenses. The tool was so obviously better that nobody needed a workshop to understand why. They didn't need a cultural change. They needed a capability change. The culture shifted because the tool was good, not because someone gave a presentation about digital transformation with 47 slides and a stock photo of a handshake. Tools first works when the existing culture is open to experimentation, when the tool delivers obvious and immediate value, or when competitors are moving and you're falling behind, and when the culture problem is actually just unfamiliarity with the tool. Hey, if this is making you think differently about your next rollout, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. It literally takes 1 second and helps this show reach more operators who are stuck in the exact same debate. Now let's keep going. The ABCD breakdown. Let's run this through the ABCD framework. A is for audience. Here's the diagnostic question most leaders skip. Is your team resisting the change or resisting the tool? These are 2 completely different problems with 2 completely different solutions. If your team is resisting the change, they don't want AI in their workflow. They feel threatened. They think it's going to replace them. That's a culture problem. No tool fixes fear. You have to address the fear first. But if your team is resisting the tool, the UX is terrible, the output is unreliable, it's slower than the manual process, that's a tool problem. No amount of workshops fixes a bad product. I had a client who was convinced that they had cultural resistance around AI. They brought in consultants, did personality assessments. They held off-site retreats. They spent a few months and over $200,000 on change management. Then someone on the IT team quietly upgraded the AI tool to a newer version with a better interface. Adoption went from 12% to over 60% in 3 weeks. It was never a culture problem. The tool was just bad. The old version had an interface that looked like it was designed by someone who hates joy, like if a tax form in a spreadsheet had a baby and nobody loved it. So step 1, diagnose correctly. Watch people use the tool. Ask them what's frustrating. Don't assume the answer before you ask the question. B is for build. If you decide culture comes first, what does that actually look like? And if you decide tool comes first, what does that look like? Culture first builds look like pilot groups, not company-wide rollouts. You pick your most influential team, not necessarily the most technical, but the most influential. And you make them the early adopters. They become the proof. When they succeed, they tell stories. Stories change culture faster than memos. The key metric in a culture first build isn't adoption, it's advocacy. How many people are voluntarily telling others, man, you got to try this? Tools first builds look a little bit different. Minimum viable deployment. Pick the tool that solves the most painful problem for the smallest team. Don't try to transform the entire organization. Transform one workflow for one group and let the results speak. The key metric in a tools first build isn't sentiment, it's usage. How many people are using the tool without being told to? And here's the honest truth. Both approaches require you to start small. The difference is whether you start small with conversations or you start small with capabilities. C is for convert. Getting people from I'll try it to I can't work without it, that's conversion. Culture first conversion is slow, but it's sticky. When people genuinely understand why AI matters and feel safe using it, they become advocates. They don't just use the tool, they defend it, they train others. That's durable adoption. But it takes time, months usually. And during those months, you're spending money, losing competitive ground, and hoping the culture shift sticks. Tool first conversation, it's fast, but it's fragile. People adopt because the tool is useful, not because they're internalized to a new mindset. Which means the moment the tool breaks, or a new tool comes along, or leadership changes priorities, adoption evaporates. I've seen this exact pattern over and over. Company adopts AI tool, adoption spikes, CEO gives a keynote about digital transformation, then the tool has a bad week of outputs, and everyone goes back to email and spreadsheets like AI never happened. That company treated the tool like a trend and not a capability. So the real conversation play, you need both. The question is, which one leads? D is for deliver. Here's the framework I like to use with clients. It's a diagnostic, not a dogma. Ask 3 questions. Number 1, have previous technology rollouts failed? If yes, culture first. You're fighting scar tissue. People remember the last time leadership promised a tool that would change everything and it didn't. 2, is the current pain point obvious and acute? If it's a yes, tool first. When people are drowning, they don't need a workshop about water safety. They need a life raft. Number 3, does your leadership team agree on why AI is being introduced at all? If no, culture first. If the C-suite can't articulate a consistent reason for the change, nobody else can either. And inconsistent messaging from the top creates paranoia at the bottom. So here's the sequence that I see work most often. If the diagnosis is cultural, lead with communication and small pilots. Earn trust, then introduce tools gradually. If the diagnosis is tools, lead with an MVP. Deployment for one team and let the results create pull. Then formalize that cultural adoption. If you really just can't tell, start with tools. Because a good tool with no culture still produces some value. A culture shift with no tool produces meetings. And meetings, last time I checked, don't ship. So here's the call. Culture and tools aren't alternatives. They're dependencies. But one has to come first. And most leaders default to whichever one they're more comfortable with instead of diagnosing what's actually broken. If your people are afraid, change the culture first. Fear doesn't respond to features. If your people are frustrated, change the tools first. Frustration doesn't respond to workshops. And if your leadership can't agree on why AI is being deployed in the first place, stop everything. Go and get alignment. Because you're not fighting a culture problem or a tool problem, you're fighting a strategy problem. And no amount of technology or transformation theater fixes that. So grab your binary decision scorecard. Does this sequence create leverage? If you're running change management workshops while your competitors are shipping AI products, that's not thoughtfulness, that's delay. If you're forcing tools on a team that doesn't trust you, that's not speed, that's sabotage. Pick the right sequence. The results are going to follow. If you haven't done it already, download your free binary decision scorecard. The link's in the description. Use it to diagnose whether your next rollout needs a culture play or a tools play before you spend any money. Like this episode? Hit that like button and subscribe. Every new subscriber makes this show reach another operator who's tired of noise and ready for some signal. In the next episode, trust AI outputs or require human review. We're diving into the review layer debate. It's going to get real. Binary business, all signal, no noise. See you next time.